They announced Del Pino. OLT. Okay, Lawrence Taylor. Okay, thanks. And the Los Angeles Rams, fresh from an impressive victory in New Orleans last Sunday night, take on the Dallas Cowboys in Texas Stadium in their first visit to Big D in 6 years. The Rams still in contention in the NFC West, 2 games behind the 49ers, and solidly entrenched right now for a wild card berth as we start today's play. And good afternoon again, everyone. I'm Dick Stockton along with Dan Fouts, and of course the Rams coming up against the Dallas Cowboys 1-11, and I was a little amazed yesterday when John Robinson told us that I think there's no way this team can be up playing the Dallas Cowboys. I never heard that from the coach before.
Well, John Robinson's that type of guy. I think he's very realistic in that outlook because he knows in a 16-game season it's impossible to get up for all 16 games, and especially when you're playing against a team that's 1-11. The other thing he wants today is for his offensive coordinator, Ernie Zampese, to use all his weapons. Don't play conservatively, and last week they found a great weapon in Flipper Anderson.
He set the NFL record for receiving yards, and you wonder what he's going to do for an encore. And what about the Cowboys? You mentioned 1-11 this year, and if you look at their schedule, they play contenders for division titles and wild card the rest of the way, so they could be holiday spoilers starting with the Rams.
Well, they really could be, but the thing that you would think in a 1-11 team is that these guys are playing for pride. Not so. They're playing for their jobs. Jimmy Johnson's going to make even more changes than he's made already. But he knows one thing's for sure. The nucleus of this ball club is very strong. That's their quarterback, Troy Aikman.
He's off to a fine start as a rookie with all the problems. 44 degrees here in Dallas. Partly cloudy the skies, although right now the sun is shining through in this partially covered Texas Stadium. Cowboys have won the toss and they'll receive. That's Mike Lansford, who shaved off his mustache and will be kicking off deep to James Dixon and Derek Shepard. Shepard is on the left. Dixon on the right. So the Rams have won 3 in a row. This is the second straight year that the Rams have won 3 straight after losing 4 in a row. 8-4 is their record.
Been a streaky year for them. You would think that they would like to string together a few wins here because the teams that go on to do well in the playoffs are teams that finish the season very strong.
Lansford kicks off for the Rams, and we're underway. And it'll be Derek Shepard returning for Dallas. Gets it beyond the 25-yard line where Jerry Gray makes the stop. Troy Aikman, a rookie, last week threw for 54 yards and was intercepted 3 times against the tough Eagle defense. His offensive front, Mark Tuinei, Nate Newton, Mark Stepnoski, a rookie starting his first game. Crawford Kerr, Kevin Gogan, and the tight end is Steve Folsom. Paul Palmer and Darrell Johnston are the running backs. James Dixon and Derek Shepard, the wide receivers. First and 10 on the 27-yard line. Aikman throwing first pass intended for Johnston, and it was Kevin Green who got a hand on it. Green, a key man in the Rams defense. Their front 3, Sean Miller and Mike Peel, are the tackles, and Alvin Wright the nose tackle. Green, Mike Wilshire are the outside linebackers. Larry Kellman, Fred Strickland are the inside backers. Jerry Gray starts at one cornerback. Leroy Irvin begins at the other corner. Michael Stewart and Vince Newsom are the safeties. Darrell Johnston on the wing, penalty marker down as Paul Palmer gets the handoff and brings it to about the 30-yard line, where Larry Kelm is there to make the stop. But our first flag of the game, and Johnny Greer, our referee, will explain. And it'll be against the Rams.
Yeah, it appeared that one of the down linemen was in the neutral zone, and that's the first penalty against the Rams, something that John Robinson doesn't want to see a lot of today.
Defense, nose tackle.
Hey, Johnny, we're over here.
But we could hear him because of the microphone. Modern technology does it every time.
That's a bad sign, though, when the referee's facing the wrong way on the first penalty. He's not off to a good start.
Second down and 5 for the Cowboys on their 32. On the draw play, Paul Palmer doesn't get much. Another marker thrown from deep in the secondary.
Well, Derek Shepard and Leroy Irvin were getting into it, and I think that Leroy might get called for a personal foul here.
Well, Greer's still facing the other way, and another penalty will be marked off against the Rams, and this is the last thing Johnny Robinson wanted to see his club do.
Yeah, he's got a couple of concerns.
Personal foul, 47 defense. First down.
He has a few concerns, and one of them is that if the Cowboys play recklessly today and all of it works for them, you know, if Aikman gets a hot hand, because he's capable of carrying this football team. In fact, if the Cowboys are to win today, he's got to carry this football team.
Well, the ball is just about at midfield, and it'll be first down for the Cowboys. Aikman gets rid of it, going for Derek Shepard. And covering was Leroy Irvin. And yesterday, Jimmy Johnson told us that he really cut a lot of the offensive playbook out of the Cowboys' preparation for today's game.
Well, he really had to because of the injuries, especially in the wide receiver position. Kelvin Martin getting his knee hurt a couple of weeks ago has really handicapped what Johnson wants to do with his offense. In fact, coming into this game, Derek Shepard, the receiver on that play, has 15 catches. On the other side, James Dixon, 15. And the reason that number is significant is because a guy on the Rams made 15 all in one game last week, Flipper Anderson.
In a game they're still talking about. Darrell Johnston on the wing, 2nd and 10 to the top of your picture. Paul Palmer gets tripped up. Might have been his own man who tripped him up. Virtually gets back to the line of scrimmage. Crawford Kerr will get credit for the tackle on Paul Palmer.
Well, number 68 is Crawford Kerr, but he shouldn't get the credit for the tackle because he's Palmer's teammate. There you see him tripping right over the right ankle of Kerr, and that's one of those types of things that happens when a running back isn't really familiar with his offensive line. They kind of don't have that coordination that they really need.
Mike Peel, the rookie from Illinois who started the game, shaken up right now.
This could be a costly injury for the Rams because if Peel is unable to go, that would leave them with only 3 down linemen.
Bill Hawkins would be the other defensive lineman, so they could be hurting in that department. We'll take a timeout here in Dallas. Bill Hawkins replaces Mike Peel, who was taken off, and he injured his left arm, Dan.
Well, he was taken right to get x-rays, and the Rams, you would think, might be in trouble with only 3 down linemen. Doug Reed is out of the ball game. But, of course, they have that linebacker defense that they like to run where they only employ 2 down linemen. So they are probably more capable of handling an injury, as they're going to have to, than many other teams.
Right now, with Hawkins in there, it's 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers on 3rd and 10 at midfield. Junior Tortolatasi is in the backfield for the Cowboys. Bateman gets time. He completes the pass to Totalatasi, and a fumble, and the Rams going after it and have recovered the fumble. So the Cowboys cough it up. Totalatasi and the Rams will take over in great field position near midfield. Kevin Green has recovered it for the Rams.
This is Totalatasi right here in the backfield. He's going to come out and run a just a stop pattern, and both these defensive backs are going to converge on him after he makes this grab.
They're going to look at this one, I think.
Well, there's some question as to who actually makes the recovery here as we check out the contact. There, the ball is out. It's clearly a fumble, but now who makes the recovery? Looks like Kevin Green, but Totalatasi's down in there. That's a tug of war right now, and they're going to give it to the Rams.
Jimmy Johnson saying it should be our ball and it should be 4th down. They had Mike Saxon on to punt, and even Leroy Irvin went back in deep punt formation. But it's Rams ball on their own 47-yard line.
That's a pretty good look at a coach that's 1-11 and not having things go his way this year.
Jim Everett, the quarterback. Starting from the I formation. And he swings it out. Greg Bell, and he loses about 4 on the play, and it was Jack Del Rio, the outside linebacker, who makes a big play. The offense in front of Jim Everett for the Rams. Up front, the tackles are Irv Pankey and Jackie Slater. The guards, Tom Newberry and Tony Slayton. Doug Smith is the center. Tight end is Damone Johnson. Bell and McGee, the running backs. Flipper Anderson and Aaron Cox, who again starts in place of Henry Ellard, are the wide receivers. Pete Holohan has come in the game as a second tight end. Del Pino to the top of your picture on 2nd down and 13. And the pass out to Del Pino. It's caught, and it's going to be a Ram 1st down as he skirted the sidelines and picks up 17 yards to the Dallas 40, where Robert Williams and Ray Horton make the tackle.
Well, the Rams are going to use a lot of shifting, but this is a defensive back covering Del Pino, and he is about 13 yards off him. Now, Del Pino is a fast runner, but he's not that fast. Ray Horton is on the coverage there. He's got to come up and play a little bit tighter. But the Rams will use a lot of formations early in this game to try to confuse the Cowboys. They got one that time.
1st down on the 39 of Dallas. The pitch to Greg Bell. Bell gets a couple. Ram running attack is stalled as of late. Walls and Lockhart on the stop. The Dallas defense. Rookie Tony Tolbert and Jim Jeffcoat are the ends. Dean Hamill and Danny Noonan are the tackles. Del Rio, Lockhart, and Ken Norton are the linebackers. Everson Walls and Robert Williams man the corners, and Ray Horton and Vince Albritton are the safeties. And we'll see a lot of Bates and Ron Francis today. 2nd down and 8. Once again, Del Pino goes out wide left. Everett's pass is dropped by Anderson. He was there at the sideline. Everson Walls was the closest defender.
Stop the presses. Is that the guy that caught 15 last week?
That was last week.
Flipper Anderson, that ball went right through his hands, and he's got to be a little bit surprised at that. He caught everything in sight against the Saints.
Eagles jump off against the Giants. Lawrence Taylor in the lineup for the Giants.
He said that if, what did he say on the NFL Today? If the only problem he's got today is a little bit of pain in that ankle, he's going to play. He knows a little bit about pain, at least dishing it out.
On 3rd and 8. 4 men rushing and 7 defensive backs for the Cowboys on the 37. Everett gets rid of it in a hurry, and Aaron Cox makes the reception, and it'll be good for another Ram 1st down to the 25. A pickup that time of 12. Manny Hendricks and Bill Bates on the stop that time.
Aaron Cox, number 84, just on a simple crossing pattern. And you mentioned that the Cowboy defensive backs are all in the game right now. There's 7 of them in there, and they were just playing too loosely that time. Wasn't necessary for them to drop back that deeply, and Cox got underneath, picked up the 1st down.
Rams are on the Cowboy 25. 1st down. First back through is Del Pino, and picks up about a yard. And right now, for an NFL Today report, let's check in with Brent Musburger on the Giant Eagle game. Brent? right, Brent, thank you. Eagles trying to sweep the Giants with a win today at the Meadowlands. We have no score with 10:24 to go in the first quarter. 2nd down and 7. Everett's pass is caught. Willie Anderson with his first reception, and that should be good for another Ram first down inside the 15. Everson Walls covering.
Well, here's Flipper against Robert Walls, Robert Williams, number 23. And again, the Cowboys are just playing too deep, too soft. They're not challenging the receivers. They're not getting any pressure on the quarterback, Everett. And the receivers are just wide open.
Everett right now is 4 for 5. Anderson comes out wide to the right. Watched by Walls. 2 tight end alignment on first down on the 13. Here's Bell with McGee blocking. And nothing going for Greg Bell. Tony Tolbert and Dean Hamill on the stop. Tolbert, undersized rookie, been a linebacker, and Jimmy Johnson has high hopes for him.
Well, he is undersized. He's about 6'6", which is pretty good, but he only weighs 240 pounds. In fact, they call him Tony Too Small Tolbert. Jimmy Johnson says he literally has to grow into the position. Likes to see him gain about 20 or 30 pounds.
A lot of people say he reminds those of L.C. Greenwood, who was a similar size when he came up with the Steelers. 2nd and 9, and the pass to Del Pino inside the 5. And another first down looms for the Rams. Ray Horton, the free safety, makes the stop. So ever since the Dallas Cowboys fumbled, the Rams have been running and right through the Cowboys.
One thing you want to look at here is the linebackers. They're all inside here. The Rams are going to fake the ball and hit Del Pino out in the flat. Watch how the linebackers who have this responsibility, here comes Lockhart to guard Del Pino. There's just no way. Way too tight, took the fake on the run fake, and it's a first down for the Rams, or close to one.
The measurement. And it is 1st and goal now for the Rams. Ed Too Tall Jones has come into the game. One of the veterans, along with Tom Rafferty, perhaps being phased out of the Cowboys, has come in now in a goal line situation on the ball on the 3-yard line.
Interesting, the play selection here for Robinson. That 3rd and 1 situation against the Saints last week when he decided to throw the ball has haunted him all week. I don't expect him to throw the ball here.
2 tight ends and Robert Cox as a third. Bell gets to the 1. Last week, Bell gained only 17 yards in 11 carries.
But he is the guy down here. He's scored 10 touchdowns rushing this year. In fact, the Cowboys' entire football team has only scored 7 on the ground. So look for Greg Bell to just take it behind that big offensive line from that I formation and power it in.
That's the drive thus far. The 11th play coming up. 2nd and goal. The ball at the 1. Here's Bell. He's not going to make it this time. Jones and Robert Williams amongst the host of white jerseys in on that play.
Well, this is the time of year that tendencies really count. The Cowboys know that the Rams just want to pound it straight up the middle. Great job by Lockhart right there of stuffing the fullback Buford McGee, not giving Greg Bell any seam to get in the end zone.
It'll be 3rd and goal at the 1. This drive started following the fumble recovery from the Ram 47. And the pass, Damone Johnson, touchdown, Ram. And Everett's 21st touchdown pass of the year in L.A. is up on top.
Excellent play action fake from Jim Everett to Greg Bell. And the linebacker, Del Rio, number 55, has coverage on Damone Johnson. Johnson really faked his block well, released into his pattern, and that's a perfect strike.
Mike Lansford with Pete Holohan holding for the extra point. And with just under 7 minutes remaining in the first quarter, The LA Rams, capitalizing on a Cowboy turnover, have moved in front 7-0. With his 4th touchdown catch of the year, giving the Rams a 7-0 lead with 6:55 to go in the first quarter. That was a scoring drive that consumed more than 6 minutes. Everett nearly perfect on the drive, and his big play was a 17-yard pass to Robert Del Pino.
And the only incomplete was that pass that Flipper Anderson dropped on his first attempt. So Everett has been right on target.
And as you mentioned, Cowboys playing soft defensively. Derek Shepard is on the left and James Dixon on the right as Mike Lansford prepares to kick off. Series is all even at 11 apiece.
Mike Lansford will kick for the Rams. Back deep.
Headed over towards Shepard at the 8-yard line. Shepard, whose specialty is punt returns, began with the Washington Redskins, brings it out to the 31.
Take a look at this touchdown. Here's Johnson working against Del Rio. Watch how Johnson fires out pretending to block Del Rio and then lets him get by and slips into the corner of the end zone. Del Rio played that as well as he could because he's got to be thinking run first and then pass second. Perfect throw, easy catch, touchdown.
And a relatively easy drive for the Rams.
Troy Aikman, quarterback.
Junior Tartalatasi joins Darrell Johnston, the rookie fullback. An official's time now called. And they're going to send the Cowboys back into their huddle. Cowboys have won only 2 games of their last 20 efforts. Both of those victories came at RFK Stadium against the Redskins.
And how do you figure that? The Redskins have had trouble winning at RFK. They did have a great game last week, though, against the Bears, where they seem to have snapped that jinx. A couple of big games, though, today. This one for Green Bay in Tampa.
A lot of people may not realize that Tampa Bay comes in only 2 games behind the leaders in the Central, the Vikings and the Pack.
They realize it, and they are playing the first place team. And anytime you play within your division, the game is worth really 2 games. You win, they lose. 1 and 1's 2, isn't it? Last time you checked.
We understand the delay is because of the exact spot of the ball, so they have it corrected. And now Aikman will go to work from his 32. Darrell Johnston, the rookie fullback, maybe a yard, and that's all. Sean Miller, the nose tackle or the defensive end, makes the stop.
Well, this is what Jimmy Johnson calls his 3-2-1 play. Or 3-1. This center is Mark Stepnoski. He's a 3rd-round pick. He's hiking it to Troy Aikman, his number 1 pick, and they're handing it off to Darrell Johnson, their number 2 pick. The 3-1-2.
Stepnoski in his first NFL start, 3rd-round pick, replacing Tom Rafferty. 2nd down and 9. Paul Palmer gets an opening, and Palmer brings it out and then loses the ball. Another fumble. And the Rams have recovered it again. Paul Palmer has coughed it up, and Dallas has fumbled in their first 2 possessions of this game.
Well, we talked about guys playing for their jobs for next year. Paul Palmer is he might be in the unemployment line after today. You cannot afford to fumble twice in successive carries like this, and especially against a team like the Rams, who are just looking for any type of break to put a team like the Cowboys away.
Vince Newsom made the recovery. Rams took advantage of the first turnover. Let's see what happens here as they start from the Cowboy 41. There's Del Pino to the top again. Everett's pass to Flipper Anderson up the middle, and he's got it. And the Rams threaten again inside the 10-yard line. A 33-yard gain to Anderson with Everson Walls making the tackle.
The Rams are spreading the ball out extremely well. Flipper Anderson is out to the left side of our screen. Everett looks away to the right side and throws a perfect strike right in stride to Flipper, and he's down inside the 10. But without any pressure on the quarterback, Jim Everett may throw for more than 450 through for last week.
That was a career high for him. First and goal on the 8-yard line. Here's Del Pino. And Del Pino gets close to the goal line and is stopped just short at the 1. Jack Del Rio, the linebacker, making the stop, and the Rams are on the verge of going in again.
Well, the offensive line of the Rams really outweighs the Cowboys by a great deal. Running behind Jackie Slater and up the middle behind Doug Smith, Del Pino just picks his way, and it takes Del Rio and Albritton to bring him down as he approaches the goal line.
Del Pino was the leading rusher last week against the Saints for the Rams. They'll have second and goal at the 1. Damone Johnson and Pat Carter are tight ends with Robert Cox. And Greg Bell will get it easily for the second Ram touchdown of this first quarter. And it's 13-0 in favor of L.A.
Well, we talked about how much the Rams offensive line outweighs the defensive line. Jackie Slater, great block on Danny Noonan there. That opens the hole. Buford McGee just seals it off. Damone Johnson also working there against Del Rio. Easy touchdown for the Rams.
That's Bell's 11th touchdown rushing of the season. Now Mike Lansford connects on the 14th point of the game. So the Rams again with Greg Bell scoring. Now lead it 14-0 over Dallas. Cowboys coach Jimmy Johnson has seen the Cowboys turn it over twice, both resulting in Ram touchdowns here in the first quarter. A brief scoring drive indeed. The big play was the 33-yard pass from Everett to Flipper Anderson, which set up the second score. Now Mike Lansford will kick off for the third time. James Dixon and Derek Shepard are back. Shepard to the left. And a run back opportunity for Shepard on the 5. And he gets tripped up. And they'll mark it just beyond the 25-yard line, where the Cowboys will go on offense again. Well, football's most time-honored and traditional game, the 90th. The two service academies meet, Army and Navy, the cadets and the midshipmen, next Saturday.
And can you believe it that the series is tied at 41 wins for Army, 41 for Navy, and 7 ties?
Something's got to give, and the cadets edged the midshipmen last year 20-15 next Saturday on CBS Sports.
There's the splint on Troy Aikman's left index finger.
That looked pretty bent yesterday when we saw it without the splinter.
And it's bent the right way to curve right around the football.
On first down, pass is dropped by Dixon.
Yeah, he fractured this finger in the Giant game, and he was missed about 5 weeks. And it is a very ugly looking scar, but you see it's kind of bent, kind of curves right there, just perfect. It reminds me of when I played with Johnny Unitas on his right index finger at the very end there. It kind of just took a right-hand turn. It was broken so many times, and he said, well, that's for pointing around corners. You go down to the corner and you go that way.
You point straight and it goes somewhere.
I do anything he tells me to do.
3 wide receivers. And the handoff to Darrell Johnston. On 2nd and 10, picks up about 2. Bill Hawkins makes the stop. Mike Peel, who started the game at defensive end for the Rams, has a dislocated elbow and will not return, and his place taken by Hawkins. As the Rams have yet to show their Eagle defense, the 5 linebacker defense, they've stayed with the 3-4.
A lot of versatility in that defense, and right now they're in a nickel set where they bring in Brett Fairnez, and he will rush the passer from the bottom of the screen or from the left.
3rd down and 7 on the Cowboy 29. Here's Paul Palmer. He had some running room, but is stopped well short of first down yardage by Brett Fairnez at the 34. We have another update coming your way from New York, and let's check in again with Brent Musburger. Brent? I got to ask you after this punt whether you wore the gloves in that Cincinnati freeze out.
I wish they had gloves with that something. I didn't wear a darn thing. I could have used something.
Mike Saxon is kicking, and Darrell Henley back for the Rams. Line drive kick. Henley with nowhere to go. Doesn't get much. No return following the 39-yard kick by Saxon. So the first time the Rams will have the ball not following a turnover when we come back to Texas Stadium. Stadium, some 15,000 seats not sold for this game. Cowboys entertaining the Rams, who lead at 14-0. The Rams 8-4, trail the 49ers by 2 games in the NFC West. Right now they're sitting pretty for a wild card berth. Dick Stockton and Dan Fouts. And the Rams will take over on their 28th.
Really a beautiful day here in Dallas. You look out the hole in the roof here, and it's beautiful sunshine.
Greg Bell is the one running back. Holohan, part of a 2 tight end offense. Everett's first pass is caught. Damone Johnson, and a gain of only 2 yards that time. Del Rio on the stop, and Everett right now has completed 8 of his first 9 attempts. And in talking with John Robinson yesterday, a lot of people felt that coming into this ball game would be a good chance for his ball club to get back to the running attack, something he's obviously been noted for. But there's been a change really in Robinson's offensive philosophy. He's more willing now to take what the defense gives him. If they come up and try and stop the run, he's got the weapons outside that can beat him. That's a big departure for Robinson. Greg Bell trying to sweep wide right, slips, and is down at the 31-yard line. A loss of a yard will bring up 3rd down and about 7 for the Rams. And here's a guy who was student body right, student body left at USC, and picked up the slack here in the Rams with the same philosophy with Dickerson and White. But he was smart enough to go out and get the best offensive coordinator in all of football a couple years ago, Ernie Zampese. He brought to the Los Angeles Rams an outstanding passing game, and now they've got the receivers to execute it. In motion. Everett off balance, throws deep to Holohan, and it's knocked away. It was intercepted apparently by Horton, but It was knocked away by Holohan with an alert play by the receiver.
And Jim Everett ought to go over and give Pete Holohan a nice high five for saving him an interception. Watch this play. Horton has it all the way, but Holohan plays like a basketball player and just strips it out of the grasp of Ray Horton, and that saves the Rams a big interception.
It's 4th down, and Dale Hatcher will punt for the first time today. Derek Shepard back deep for the Cowboys. Good kick by Hatcher. Shepard on his 25. Gets by one defender and is finally wrestled down at the 31 by Anthony Newman, or 10-yard return. For an update, let's check in again with Brent Musburger. Brent, what's going on? Thank you, Brent, and looks like gloves all over the place, Dan.
I don't think the gloves bothered Sims on that touchdown pass there. The big problem that he has today is that wind there at the Meadowlands, blowing very strongly.
First down for the Cowboys on their 36. Under a minute to go in the first quarter. Play fake by Aikman. And the pass is caught by Dixon. And just shy of a first down, a 9-yard gain. Jerry Gray defending. And the crowd in a kind of a derisive cheer as the Cowboys finally do something offensively, with Dixon making the reception.
Well, we've played almost the entire first quarter. The Cowboys have run off 11 plays on offense. Their first series went 5 plays and a fumble. Their next series went 2 plays and a fumble. Then they went 3 and a punt. So these fans are due for a cheer or two.
Second down, call it 2. Johnston. Maybe a yard, and that's all. He'll be stopped by Fred Strickland, who's a key man in the Rams' defensive front. Down gets stopped at the 45-yard line, and the final seconds tick off. And that is the end of the first quarter here at Texas Stadium, with the Rams leading the Cowboys 14-0. And Dan Fouts as we start the second quarter with the Rams in front of the Cowboys 14-0. Taking advantage of 2 Dallas fumbles in the first quarter. Damone Johnson with a touchdown reception from a yard out, and Greg Bell going over from 1. It'll be 3rd down and 1 for Dallas on their 45. 2 tight end alignment. Steve Folsom is joined by Keith Jennings. Ball Palmer. Stopped short. Will not get it. Palmer is hit hard by Larry Kelm. Talked about Fred Strickland, the other duo, that inside linebacker duo that makes the stop, and it's 4th down.
Big smile on Kelm's face. This is a huge hit as he knocks Palmer down before he even gets near that hole. Perfect tackle. But you know, Palmer's only 5'9", 180 pounds. He's really not suited for this type of heavy duty running.
He assumed the role left open when Herschel Walker was traded to Minnesota. Palmer came from Kansas City by way of Detroit. Darrell Henley and Leroy Irvin are back deep. Mike Saxon will kick. It'll be Henley, and he'll let the ball drop, and it's going to go out of bounds at about the 1-yard line or even closer. That kick went 54 yards and a half.
That's right on the half-yard line there. Great punt from Mike Saxon. That's tough when the punter's getting high fives. The only guy on the team. This ball just had eyes, as they say. Right inside the cone.
That's not his longest kick of the year, but it's his best.
Well, it gives the Cowboys a chance here to make something happen. Maybe get a turnover and put some points on the board. Their offense doesn't appear capable of doing that just yet.
Two tight ends for Jim Everett on the one. And the give is to Del Pino. Gets a little breathing room out to about the 3-yard line.
Dean Hamill, number 60, came real close to getting Del Pino in the end zone. In fact, you can see his eyes there. He's checking out the replay on the replay board.
He still thinks he got him back there, or had a shot at it.
You bet.
Former Washington Redskin. Ed Jones, number 72, in there. Number 72 on the left. Second down and 8. Once again, it's Del Pino, and he'll bring it out to the 6-yard line, bringing up third down. Jones made the tackle on that play.
And talking with Tom Newberry yesterday, he really prefers this type of game where they just keep powering at the defensive linemen. Last week against the Saints, it was probably the first time that the Rams offensive line wore out a defensive line by pass blocking all day long, but he would rather intimidate and push people back from the line of scrimmage.
Big veteran offensive line. 7 defensive backs. 3 wide receivers for the Rams. 3rd and 5. Del Pino. They try to sneak him through, but the Cowboys were there, and it's Bill Bates and Ed Jones with a big defensive play, and that'll bring up 4th down.
Well, you mentioned that they had all defensive backs in the game. This is Bill Bates, number 40, and he's playing the middle linebacker. His job is to watch this fella and take him everywhere he goes. He steps right up, and Bill Bates, for a little tiny guy, hits like a big old guy.
Now Dale Hatcher will kick from the end of the end zone. Derek Shepard back for Dallas. Not a long kick, but it takes a Ram bounce, goes out of bounds. But the Cowboys will have the ball in Ram territory for the first time today when we get back. 36-yard kick by Hatcher. Cowboys, Everett nearly perfect in 1 touchdown pass as LA has scored both of their touchdowns off of Dallas turnovers. It's 14-0 Rams early here in the second quarter, but perhaps the best opportunity without question the Cowboys have had, and maybe with the game going the way it's going, they better take advantage of it.
Well, Saxon gave him a great punt, pinned the Rams back. Their defense came up with 3 plays, forced the Rams to punt, and now the Cowboys take over on the 43. As you say, Dick, they have to score 7 points in this drive.
And it looks as if the running game hasn't been going that well. Palmer has certainly not been an effective ball carrier, and you wonder whether Aikman will just air it out. Jimmy Johnson watching his team start from the Ram 43. Aikman's toss caught by Folsom, the tight end. Gets close to first down yardage. Mel Owens, whose job defensively is to shadow the tight end, makes the tackle in a gain of about 9.
And Steve Folsom is the Cowboys' leading receiver, number 85, working against Mel Owens. And this is the weakness of this Eagle defense, is the man-to-man coverage that the linebacker has to have on the tight end. The Cowboys can take advantage of this with Aikman calling audibles. They can get something going.
Second down and 1 at the Ram 34. 2 tight ends. Palmer will bounce off a defender and get more than enough for the first down. And out of bounds, close to the 15-yard line. Leroy Irvin chased him, and a gain of 18.
This is just natural ability from Paul Palmer. He's had a whole bunch of trouble pounding it up inside here. Watch how the Rams kind of clog it up, and he'll reverse his field and go entirely the other way. He doesn't see anything there. Now it's just pure speed. He gets lucky there as Mike Wilcher kind of over pursued. Leroy Irvin does a nice job of forcing him out of bounds, but the Cowboys are in business.
First down on the 16, and the Rams go into their Eagle defense with 5 linebackers. Palmer hit immediately by Mel Owens and gets nothing.
Boy, that's why he reversed his field on the last play. Mel Owens really tags him here. Coming right up into the hole. Number 58 is going to meet Paul Palmer and stop him cold.
Owens leaves the game, and Bill Hawkins, the defensive tackle, replaces him on 2nd down and 9. 3 wide receivers for Dallas. Here's Palmer. Gets a hole up the middle. Palmer gets to the 5 and inside the 5. 11 more yards for Paul Palmer, and the Cowboys threaten big here.
This time Palmer's going to try the left side, and the linebackers are dropping back into coverage because it's 2nd and 9. And this is an outstanding block from Nate Newton, and Palmer explodes up through that hole and takes it inside the 5. But Palmer really bounced back well from those 2 fumbles. He's had a couple big runs on this drive.
1st and goal at the 4. Nearly 5 minutes gone by in the 2nd quarter.
398!
Darrell Johnston, he'll go nowhere. And Alvin Wright, the big defensive tackle, wrapped him up and bring up 2nd and goal. There are scores around the league. Interesting that of the 16 offensive touchdowns scored by the Cowboys this year, only 1 drive has been less than 60 yards, which is a testimony to the fact that they haven't really forced too many turnovers. But this would be an example of one if they can go in.
Field position based upon actually on the long punt by Saxon and the short punt from Dale Hatcher. 43 yards is where they started this drive. They got to finish it off, though.
And a flag. Alvin Wright came charging across but was drawn off by the Cowboys. So this is what 1 and 11 teams do when they get 1st and goal. They go the other way.
False start. 68 offense. Still 2nd down.
Crawford Kerr.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's moving before the ball is snapped. Actually, that was pretty close to call there because it looked like Wright was coming across and Crawford was just trying to protect the quarterback. But that always seems to go against the offensive player because the defensive player does have that right to come across but not make contact and then get back on side. But it is a crucial mistake when you're down inside the 5.
Following the penalty, 2nd down and 9. 2nd and goal, the ball at the 9. Folsom in motion, the tight end. Aikman fires. Incomplete. He threw into a crowd. Cornell Burbage. It looked like there were several receivers in the neighborhood for the Cowboys, and that'll bring up 3rd and goal.
Babe Laufenberg, the 3rd string quarterback, number 15, will signal the plays into Troy Aikman, and looks like it's going to be a shotgun, and I'm not sure about that signal, though.
We'll call it a shotgun.
That looked like the old 6-gun signal there from Babe Laufenberg.
John Robinson setting up his defense. 4 wide receivers. Rookie Bernard Ford.
It was a shotgun. Look at this.
I always said you could see those signals from the sideline. Pass up the middle. Darrell Johnston, and Dallas scores. So the Cowboys come back after trailing 14-0. Darrell Johnston here.
Watch him circle out of the backfield, and he gets lost from the secondary from the Rams. Just nobody there to pick him up. That's his 2nd receiving touchdown of his career in the course of this year, being a rookie. But that's really a big lift for the Cowboys. Get back in this ball game.
Luis Zendejas, who was in the news this week with Babe Laufenberg holding for the conversion, and the kick is good. Zendejas was one of the players who figured in that bounty hunter controversy with the Philadelphia Eagles on Thanksgiving Day. But Zendejas brings Dallas to within 7. 14-7 with 8:34 remaining in the second quarter. There's Zendejas, who is the object of that big controversy. Buddy Ryan and the Eagles and the bounty hunter.
Well, and what Jimmy Johnson told us is that it really took his Cowboy football team out of the game mentally, because on the sidelines, all they could talk about was, yeah, they're putting a bounty on Zendejas, they put one on Saxon, they got one on Aikman, and it really affected the Cowboys from a mental standpoint, and they just went completely flat the rest of that game against the Eagles.
Ron Brown and Robert Del Pino are deep for the Rams. Kick is deep, and it'll be Ron Brown on the 3.
Ron Brown on the 2.
Former Olympic sprinter, putting on the burners, goes out of bounds at the 36-yard line. The Cowboys scoring drive, only their second of the year offensively, less than 60 yards, thanks to the great punt by Saxon. Palmer with 29 yards on that drive, including an 18-yard run.
And the big pass for the touchdown to Gerald Johnston, probably the last guy the Rams thought would be the primary receiver. Good play call from David Shula.
Rams with a first down from their 36. Everett's pass knocked away, intended for Anderson. Everson Walls defending on the play. Good coverage by Walls.
And Everson Walls needs to make good plays, because he's one of those guys that may not be here next year, or at least not playing the cornerback position. But that is really vintage Everson. You saw him looking back into the backfield at the quarterback as Anderson was coming down the field. The ball hung just a little bit. It didn't look like Everett came through and really followed through on that ball to get it to Anderson. But that's a good play for Everson. He needs those type.
Johnson thinks his future may be more at safety than at cornerback. Second down and 10. Everett with a lot of time drills it, and Anderson is hit hard. And this time it was the strong safety Vince Albritton, a real solid hit by Albritton to break it up.
You know, that touchdown really has picked up the Cowboy defense. Everett is going to get good protection, and he really steps up and fires this ball. But the safety, Albritton, really broke well on it. Saw it all the way, but I'm wondering why the Rams are going down the field throwing these deep passes where they had so much success earlier, just dinking away at them when the Cowboys defensive backs were playing off and deep.
Third down and 10. 4 rushmen and 7 defensive backs. Pressure on Everett. Down he goes. Dean Hamill with the sack. And the Cowboys come into the game last in the NFL with only 17 sacks. Get one here and a loss of 9.
Very aggressive. Watch Bates come on the blitz. We got another guy blitzing from the outside, and Hamill's one of these guys inside here is going to pick up this sack. He comes clean through as the guard and center were more concerned with the safeties.
Hatcher's kick. Shepard. And he gets smothered. 12-yard return by Derek Shepard, who's slow getting up. There's Dean Hamill with the big sack for Dallas.
Derek Shepard getting helped off the field. We'll take a look at this hit as the Rams gang tackle McDonald, number 90, Del Pino, and then the knockout shot right there from Richard Brown.
Going to hurt Dallas. Bernard Ford, a rookie from Central Florida, will be pressed into service. Shepard, a starting receiver. It'll be first down on the 40-yard line. Ford, number 80, to the bottom of your picture. Burbage, the other wideout. Darrell Johnston fights his way forward to the 45. Gain of 5. Alvin Wright makes the tackle for the Rams with 7.5 minutes to go in the first half. Vic Stockton and Dan Fouts reporting from Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas. The Cowboys 1-11 with 3 losses in a row against the Rams, who have turned themselves around. They've won 3 straight. Trying to nail down playoff role, maybe get a shot at the division title, leading 14-7. 2nd and 5. Johnston. Good second effort by Darrell Johnston. Will be stopped short of a first down. Anthony Newman and Bill Hawkins made the stop, and this Johnston has good forward motion when he carries the ball.
Well, he looks like one of those big old Syracuse fullbacks that he is. Watch how he hits into this hole here. There's number 99, Alvin Wright, bounces off him and then finds a little hole and gets up close within a yard of that first down. But that's really determined running.
Jimmy Johnson impressed with his smarts, what to do as a play develops. Seems to have a good head for the game.
He used it that time.
3rd down and 1. Paul Palmer tripped up, and he's not going to get there, and will lose a yard and a half. Bill Hawkins makes the tackle, and that'll bring up 4th down.
You know, in that situation, it's 3rd and 1. The Cowboys really don't have anything to lose by throwing the ball. You saw the Rams tried to get it in the end zone twice by running it. They decided that they were beating their heads against the wall, threw the ball to Damone Johnson for the easy touchdown, but that would have been a good spot for a play action pass there. Instead, they lose a yard.
Mike Saxon will kick. Darrell Henley on the left, Leroy Irvin with him.
Mike Saxon to kick for Dallas.
High kick, not a long one. And will be marked out of bounds at the 29-yard line of the Rams. That kick went only 27 yards. Once again, it'll be the classic Army and Navy next Saturday. CFA college football on CBS.
Last year, the Cadets edged the Midshipmen 20-15. Always a tough battle, though. These guys, they play it like it's a war.
And you know what?
Makes sense, huh?
Well, you can throw the records out the window when these two teams play. Can you say that about that game?
I wish I had said that.
1st and 10 at the 25. Greg Bell picks up a couple. Dean Hamill to stop. Well, the Cowboys can be proud of the way they've defensed the run so far in this first half against the Rams.
Yeah, and that's really kind of bothersome for the Rams. They're not used to not having success running the ball, and Greg Bell in particular, he's got 7 carries today for about 7 yards or 8 yards, and that's not like him. And one of the problems is that the Rams have been using a lot of different backs, a lot of different combinations, and Bell just hasn't been able to pick up his rhythm.
2nd down and 8. Rams on their 27. Everett up the middle, and the pass is caught by Buford McGee. Gets by a couple of defenders and turns it into a big gain for the Rams into Cowboy territory. Jesse Solomon makes the tackle for Dallas, but not before McGee gets 25 yards out of it.
Look, take a look at Buford McGee just circling out of the backfield, makes the catch here and could have gone straight up the field here, but instead he went outside and really gets a break as he just out-muscles Ray Horton and picks up big yardage. But look at the big hole right there. He doesn't quite see. Gets around the linebackers there. Jesse Solomon breaks the tackle from Horton, and the Rams are inside Cowboy territory.
Everett again with time. Completes to Anderson. And he's close to a first down. Everson Walls defending. Pushed out of bounds by Walls. We We'll tell you about the two outside backers for Dallas in a moment.
But we remember the Rams in the last series tried to throw the ball deep. They're going back to what they started the game with, these short passes. Look how far off Everson Walls, number 24, is playing, as he was guessing that Anderson was going to go deep.
It'll be 2nd down and 1 at the 39. Del Pino and McGee. McGee in motion.
Robert
Del Pino. That'll be close. Danny Noonan trying to hang him up.
Well, the defensive line of the Cowboys really has solved the rushing problems that the Rams present to you. They haven't quite figured out a way to get to Everett. They've only sacked him once so far.
And we're going to have a measurement. We mentioned that Jesse Solomon and David Howard were two linebackers who come in the game, and there's a story there. They are the outside backers, two of the three defensive players who were picked up in the Herschel Walker trade from Minnesota, who will play the 2nd and 4th quarters.
And the reason is because it has to do with their value as far as how much they play and what the Cowboys would have to compensate the Minnesota Vikings. But the Cowboys for the future are in excellent shape by making that trade, because they are just loaded with draft choices. It's almost as if they copied what the Rams did a couple of years ago when the Rams sent Eric Dickerson to Indianapolis and got players in return through the draft like Flipper Anderson and Aaron Cox and Del Pino and some of those other fellows. So the Cowboys' future is very, very bright.
Two tight ends plus Robert Cox in there as another blocker on 3rd and 1. Bell. And he may have made it. Apparently he did, and it's a Ram 1st down. When the Rams traded Eric Dickerson, they picked up a bunch of top players. Bell, Cox, and Strickland, who are starters, plus some others.
Well, and they're all contributors except for Gaston Green, who is about the 3rd string tailback. So there's 6 guys for one that are really benefiting the Rams. Now, on the other hand, this is what the Cowboys will receive in the next 3 years, 90, 91, and 92. So their future is really solid. Now all they have to do is make sure that they draft well. And they're very confident. Talking to Jimmy Johnson, he's just looking for these last 4 games to give them something positive that they can carry over, see which of the players that are on his team now can be contributors next year. Then you add in those draft choices, and plus his buddy is the owner.
Eugene Lockhart got an ovation from the crowd with his 168 tackle, a new Cowboy record. 1st down on the 37. McGee. And McGee picks up about 8 yards. We wind down to 3 minutes remaining in the 1st half.
Everett dealing the ball around very well. That's his 11th completion of the day, and 5 of them have been to his running backs. But you really have to like the way Buford McGee finished off that play as he lowered his head and tried to get that 1st down.
14-7, the Rams lead. Scored both of their touchdowns in the 1st quarter following Dallas turnovers. Cowboys came back with a score of their own here in the 2nd. 2nd and 1. Del Pino dives and appears to have another Ram 1st down.
Very businesslike attack for the Rams today, as they're really dealing with the entire field. Stretching it with a couple of long passes, throwing a couple of the shorter ones when that's what the defense has given them. But Robinson, it's interesting to talk to him these days, because he is no longer the guy that says, hey, we need a big tailback to pound the ball every down. We've got a lot of different types of players we can hurt a defense with.
He's got a lot of ways to go, that's for sure. And Jim Everett over on the side talking with John Robinson. 2 minutes remain in the 1st half with the Rams leading the Cowboys.
Receiver is going to have to deal with if he runs a pattern down this end of the field. Notice how this shadow here is at this angle. So the ball will be coming out of the shade right through the angle of the sun. And if I were Jim Everett, I wouldn't even try to throw a ball in the corner of the end zone there.
See all the Cowboys going to the right side.
And you notice the formation here. He's just got big old tight end Damone Johnson over here. You know he's not going to catch it.
2 minutes to go in the 1st half. Everett lofts it to Holohan. Nearly broke a couple of tackles. And Tolbert got a deflection on that pass. Holohan, who seems to be, and it was evident against New Orleans last week, that every time Holohan makes a catch, it's a big play.
Well, he is a guy that is a clutch receiver. Played with Pete for a number of years in San Diego, and we had receivers that weren't too bad. John Jefferson, Wes Chandler, Charlie Joyner, and Kellen Winslow. But all four of those guys would tell you to the man that Pete Holohan had the best hands on the football team.
That was his first catch of the day. 2nd down and 6. And up the middle, Robert Del Pino is hit hard by Jack Del Rio, and they rule that he coughed it up. A fumble, and the Cowboys recover. Let's see if it was Lockhart who made the recovery.
Lockhart is going to make the hit along with right there in the middle of the screen, Danny Noonan, but it's Lockhart who gets the knockout, not only of the running back Robert Del Pino, but he knocks the ball out. And this is only the Rams' 7th fumble all year long. But that's the hit man, or the hitting machine, Gene Lockhart.
And Jim Jeffcoat made the recovery for the Cowboys. So Lockhart, who established the Cowboys' all-time tackle record for a season. First turnover of the game by the Rams, and it's a first down on the 23 for Dallas. Aikman up the middle, completes to Burbage and shows his speed, and Cornell Burbage brings it out in a gain of 16, just shy of the 40.
We'll see how Troy Aikman handles the hurry-up offense. He's off to a good start with that pass to Burbage.
Aikman can run, and there he goes. And Aikman slides safely into Ram territory. And the Cowboys want to use a timeout. It'll be their first. That was a 16-yard gain by Troy Aikman. 38 seconds to go in the first half. The Rams lead it 14-7. The Cowboys have used their first timeout. The ball is at the Ram 45, first down for Dallas.
And Aikman really should have used that first timeout after Burbage's catch. No sense saving him when you're down inside 1 minute.
3 wide receivers, Junior Toddle-Atasi in the backfield. Green trying to get to Aikman. Pass thrown behind Toddle-Atasi. Incomplete. Stops the clock with 33 seconds remaining.
Johnson should have talked to Aikman about making sure of his ball, where he's going to throw that ball, and try and get his field goal kicker into range for a field goal. It would really be prudent for the Cowboys to come away with some points here. Zendejas has a range of about 50 yards. So for that to happen, Aikman needs to pick up about 15.
His longest kick is 32 yards since joining the Cowboys. 2nd and 10. Aikman has Burbage. And Burbage is tackled at the 35, and the Cowboys will use their second timeout. That gain was good for 11 yards. And it'll be a first down on the 34. Jerry Gray on the tackle.
Well, the offensive line's doing a nice job of protecting the quarterback here. No Ram anywhere near Aikman, and Burbage splits the scene, gets through the defenders, and picks up almost enough yardage to get his field goal kicker in range.
Cordell Burbage had only 2 receptions coming into this game, and he's made 2 big ones on this drive.
But he was with the Cowboys in training camp, and he has that experience. Although he's only in his 3rd year, he's the senior member of the receiving corps. You know, when you look at Shepard going down, that means the Cowboys start James Dixon as a rookie at the other wide receiver, and then Burbage is backed up by a couple of rookies in Ankrum and Ford. So a lot of guys are introducing themselves to each other every week here in Dallas.
Puts a lot of pressure on Aikman. When you lose a Kelvin Martin and Michael Irvin, both out with torn knee ligaments, it really cuts down what you can do. Right now, it would be a 51-yard attempt for Zendejas. Aikman's pass intended for Burbage, but well short. A lot of time ticked off. Now 19 seconds remain. Dallas still has one timeout remaining.
But the Cowboys are doing the smart thing with Aikman. They're moving him outside of the pocket, not allowing Kevin Green and his friends to really zero in on where he's going to be. A sack here would force the Cowboys out of any chance for Zendejas.
Second down and 10. Aikman had the ball knocked away and got up and finally is nailed. And that's the last thing the Cowboys wanted. A loss back to the 38-yard line. Pressure by Kevin Green made it all happen for the Rams.
Well, we'll check out, see who knocks the ball out of his hand. Kevin Green, number 91, gets right around Gogan, and he pushes the ball right out of Aikman's hands. And then Strickland comes in and cleans up and picks up the sack. But that's Kevin Green. He's been doing that the last couple of years. Really has benefited from the Rams' Eagle defense. Fritz Shermer likes the way he gets after the quarterback. 16.5 sacks last year, 13.5 so far this year.
Cowboys have used their third and last timeout. 13 seconds remain. Each team has one sack. Strickland getting credit for that one. Third down and 15. And Aikman's pass, and Ford was not inbounds. Bernard Ford made a tremendous attempt and catch, but he could not keep both feet in bounds.
This is a great throw from Aikman and a great catch. Unfortunately, you got to have 2 feet down in this league. Ford gets his left foot down, but the right foot ends up on the chalk.
No way.
Good call. What a wonderful catch, though, as he reaches out and really caught it in just one hand there. Left foot in, right foot clearly out of bounds.
Jimmy Johnson told us that in practice Ford plays very well, but in games he has dropped 2 passes. But this shows some ability here.
Oh, it really does. And he's not wearing any gloves there. That was all just natural feel.
7 seconds remain, and it is fourth down and 15. And a delay of the game call is upcoming, and Aikman really upset.
Well, and he's upset because he has to rely on the play being sent in from the coaching staff, and the coaching staff didn't get it in soon enough.
Talking with Aikman yesterday, despite all the glitter of coming from UCLA, he's a relatively shy young man.
Well, you know, his roots are from Oklahoma, and I think that's he feels very comfortable here in Dallas.
4 wide receivers. Aikman will put it up for grabs here. And it's knocked away as time runs out. And a penalty marker is down. And if it's against the Rams, they'll have another play. And it is a personal foul against the LA.
And not only will they have another play, this may get them within field goal range for Zendejas. Really a bad play by the Rams here. Personal foul, roughing the quarterback.
This will really broil John Robinson. And Zendejas comes onto the field. Be about a 46-yarder. Here's the play.
They mark it from the line of scrimmage. There's the
Roughing the passer, number 70.
I'm not so sure that's roughing the passer, though. He had his hands on him, but it looked like the offensive lineman knocked the quarterback down.
Bill Hawkins.
Hawkins didn't throw him down. That's really a questionable call.
47-yard attempt by Zendejas. His career long is 50. Holding is Lockenberg. No time showing on the clock. And the kick is good. Give him 3. And that is the end of the first half. Personal foul call and a field goal by Zendejas. It's 14-10 Rams at halftime.